and there was people I knew in the Bay Area that were they primarily they seemed like they came out of art schools, kind of wimpy kids that got beat up in school, or suddenly found a voice, making music, making art, and putting out their own publications and their own music. And so this is the first single by Tuxedo Moon. You can see it's kind of put together with these little stickers. There's something very, very intriguing, very nice about that, I guess. And the original single had a color Xerox of a TV dinner with cigarettes added out in it. And if you couldn't afford, if you were putting out a single and you couldn't afford color, there's a silkscreen second day glow color stuff in there. We have the Deadbeats Kill the Hippies. If you ask me later, I do know most of the lyrics, but I won't repeat them. It's a good song. And there were a number of publications too that came out around that time that were punk fanzines. They were about the music, and in the Bay Area we had a magazine called Search and Destroy. In L.A. there was Slash, and this is Gary Panter, who's a friend of mine who still is doing amazing work. But he had a full-page comic. Jimbo was serialized in the pages of Slash. So that was my first introduction to what I thought of as punk art, and I really wanted to be a punk artist. Another influence a big influence on me at that time, and was an influence on the character Doug in the story, was William Burroughs. He really seemed to kind of fit in. His writing and his vision of the world really kind of fit in with that era. His very kind of dark vision, but also his very, very, very strong sense of humor as well. So here's another sequence where we have Doug getting up to perform. He's doing a performance piece, kind of a spoken word piece, with his mask. I was scared shitless. I'd done a couple of performances before, but never in front of a real audience. Hi, I'm Nit, also known as Johnny23. I had a tape that I made of random sounds, guitar feedback, television commercials, white noise. Don't worry, this won't take long. The idea was to blast the tape as loud as possible and then read a few of my cut-ups on top of that. This is the only part where I wake, a distant flicker about the flood, swollen river, just a ghost in a vast mud ring, colors blooming. Thin pink blanket, old photos fading and floating the rotten dawn wind, feeling egg flesh, cruel idiot smiles, green boys with do I want to look. Dreaming with eyes open, shuffling images and mosaic of, okay, that's enough. It's time for some music. Or wait, maybe you guys are really into hippie poetry. Maybe you want to just keep listening to this stuff all night. I mean, what do you call that anyway? I guess it was art. Anyway, we're the Microbes, and it's called Happy Fetus. The quote there, I mean, what do you call that anyway? I guess it was art. That literally came out of the mouth of someone on stage. I don't know. What I'm trying to capture too in this book is very early on, everyone didn't quite know what punk was. It was kind of before all the rules had been written. People had probably looked at magazines and were trying to dress the way they had seen the Sex Pistols dress, but it was still, again, it was like a lot of art school kids that were having fun, and I'm trying to capture that moment before it turned into something else. Another side project that I've done is, these are kind of like, they're single page comics, or single comics that are just, they're kind of like gathering imagery, gathering ideas that may or may not find their way into the story. And some of these have been published in a comic section in the Believer magazine. I was like watching those films in science class where the snake eats the egg, only in reverse. I keep drawing these images over and over again. The walking fetal pig dragging his umbilical cord, and a waste pipe dumping raw sewage into a huge river. Why? Where do they come from? She was into romance comics. She had a little stack of them that she'd pull out and read before going to bed. And this one's, remember my story about the inner calm? Another thing that I've found really intriguing when I've been working on this is I've kind of come across these pirated editions of Tintin. So this is from China. And what they did is the original Tintin stories are in color, and they couldn't transpose those into anyway. They literally had to redraw. They had to trace the entire book. So you have these odd redrawn covers, and the entire all the books are totally redrawn. There's something about that really kind of harkened back to the my world early on when I was aware of those foreign editions of Tintin. There's something about that feel that I really enjoyed. There's some other Chinese covers. There's something very odd about Captain Haddock. He drinks too much, but he's a pretty benevolent guy. I don't remember seeing him holding a big submachine gun. And that led to a few other side projects. I did a portfolio of prints where I did kind of fake pirated or fake foreign editions of Tintin books, or knit books, I should say. And this, the design of this is based on a Tintin magazine, a periodical that came out in Belgium in the 40s, I guess. Yeah, 40s. And I couldn't stop there, so I did a series of knit comic books where the graphics are, like the title and the graphics are kind of based on these very early mainstream comics, like the real simple graphics, very bright primary colors, or printing colors, I should say. The woman with a house body is that's going to show up later in the second book. On the cover, he shows up too. I don't think this is going to show up, but it doesn't matter. And this is actually being published right now. I did my own kind of fake foreign pirated edition. This is the cover of well, it actually translates out. It's Johnny 23. So with the help of a friend, I made a foreign alphabet that I could actually use. So what I did is I wanted to do a foreign edition, and I used the existing images in X'd out and the story I'm working on now, but have it printed in purple ink on kind of a cruder paper, and have this foreign text. I'll be like this forever. I'll never find a way out. There's a river flowing under me, dragging me downstream. I'm on a raft. I'm drifting away, swept up in a flood. A raft loaded up with all of my crap, all of the things I can't seem to let go of yet. We were happy. We really were, at least for a little while. I try to control it, try to focus in on the good things. Waking up with Sarah on a clear, beautiful day. Walking with her through Chinatown, the sky impossibly bright and blue. Everything bright and clean and new. But my eyes always drift. I always look down. There's something in my egg. What, that? That's nothing. Sometimes the eggs get fertilized by accident, but it's no big deal. Hey, it's all protein. If you don't want to eat it, I will. If you don't want to eat it. Come on, get over it. It's a nice, clean place. You got nothing to worry about. And that's that. If anyone has questions, I'll be more than happy to.
a big fan of your work. I used to read it when I was a kid. El Borba and Heavy Metal. That was a great one. Has there ever been any discussion about making any of your comics into movies?
I've made a animated film with a French production company. I did a about 15-minute portion of a feature-length movie, collection of other artists called Herge and William Burroughs, Fears of the Dark, and yeah. So I've done that. My book Black Hole is an option for a movie, so there's a chance of that happening sometime. El Borba would be a big character to get out in the theaters, but I don't know. That's never happened. No one's ever talked to me about El Borba. Don't know. Anybody else? Way back there?
Actually, the first one would be, what do you think today the relationship is between American comics and European comics? And the second one is about the toy project you did way back with Sony, the Capsule project. How did that come about, and do you have any interest in doing more toys?
Okay, you were asked about the difference between the world of, I guess, European comics and American. When I've been over there recently, it seems like everybody is slowly catching on to this idea of big graphic novels. The book that I have, this, is really in the mold of the Franco-Belgian album, is what they're called. So it's almost like their version of what used to be comic books when I grew up. They're hardbound books. They're usually about the same length, and printed, nicely printed in color. So that's changing a little bit. I mean, it's still very prevalent. That style is very prevalent over there. But yeah, that's starting to change. I don't know. I'm probably bringing over this style over here, and everybody's expecting like a 500-page book these days. But I like this kind of slender volume. I like the format, and that's I wanted to take on telling the story this way. And the other question was about toys. I just was approached. I was just approached by a Japanese publisher about doing the toys, and I've always liked Japanese toys, especially, and designed a series. There's other American artists that have done. Peter Bagg did a series. Jim Woodring's done a lot of them. For some reason, they love Jim Woodring over there. His work fits in perfectly. So he's done a lot of toys. I'd like to do some more, but just hasn't happened. Anybody else? Yeah.
So did you continue searching for Tintin books, and as you got older, and what was your luck?
Yeah, what happened was eventually they started being imported. There were British translations. There were British translations that eventually came over here. Actually, my sister traveled over to Europe. She was older than me, and she found a bunch and brought them back, which was very nice of my big sister. But I say eventually they started getting imported, so I found all of them eventually, slowly but surely found them all. And again, what happens is, like, I think you kind of are very attached to the books that you read initially. Some are good, some are not as good, but I still think they're great. They're really great pieces, great books to read. I read them to my daughters when they were growing up. Flip them on like that.
Did you have to change your approach a lot to mess with the clean line?
Well, the difference in this book and what I've worked before, just using color, you work differently, right? I work differently because I didn't want to have a colorized version.